Good morning, guys. For this morning's gratitude, traveling with attitude, I am taking you from my atelier in Saint-Germain-des-Prés out onto the streets of Paris. It's an interesting one. Yes. There we go. Here. There we are. And I'm doing it early because this is the truth about food. Is that it is très expensive. Oh, isn't it wild? My atelier, my writing atelier, it is in Saint-Germain-des-Prés, which is the writerly part of Paris, but I am on the Saint-Germain-des-Prés stretches 2 blocks, and I'm going to show you the difference between the right bank and the left bank. We are making our way through the right bank. To tell you in French, that's rive droit. D-R-O-I-T, droit. And yes, there are cafes on the right bank, but it's very quiet. Not so quiet because yesterday I was trying to do some writing over at Cafe de Fleur, and I was absolutely floored. It was so crowded because it's right across the street from each other are 2 writers, famous writer cafes, where they got discovered, and apparently every tourist has discovered it. So what used to be in the left bank is rive gauche, and you've heard that term many times, rive gauche. And we're going to get into that as we go into the rive gauche, because right now we're still on the rive droit, which isn't all opened up with tourists, because yes, it is expensive, but it's not all touristy like what I'm going to take you into. But to get there is really interesting because you get to go through palaces that live, and you get to see the difference for yourself. Gratitude. Okay. Now we are about to cross the main boulevard, not the Tillman Boulevard, but the big one that is usually packed with traffic. Well, it's not packed with traffic. To bring you across the Seine, and you have to go through a palais. What else? And it's a little sad, isn't it? When I think there's a song, "Why Does the Caged Bird Sing?" I think this one would be, "Why does the caged sunflower sing?" Because it doesn't have to be bothered with anyone touching them. It's so sad. It's not like the gardens at Luxembourg, at the boutique gardens. No. And this is winding up after our wondrous time in the Mediterranean, being back in Paris. And there are, of course, as in all places in the world, suffering and pain and a poverty gap, even here in Paris. It's true. Bothers me particularly because I know firsthand how the wealth gap has been created. I've watched it created. I've had to watch the thing since I married Michael Falk in 1989. But let's not talk about him. He's not very palatial. But this, if I had taken you to this midday, and by the time we get back, maybe you'll see it. This place is packed with tourists. So I love an early morning walk in Paris, because you get, actually what you get in a morning walk in Paris is Parisians, because they aren't like the tourists that were staying up all night. Oh, and so this is the palace that's attached to the Louvre, and we might as well. I am not doing a Louvre tour. Everybody does the Louvre tour. If you want to watch the Louvre tour, watch it. But yes, this palais is attached to the Louvre. This is actually where I brought my daughter. Part of my inspiration of traveling with my children, but my son did not take to it. He's more of a homebody. My daughter loved to travel, and I got the idea that traveling was an education, and so Daddy was into art, and they were teaching something about Leonardo da Vinci, and I thought, let's do some experiential learning, eh? Let's see the Mona Lisa, and that'll be, you'll do like not a home visit, but there, if you want to know what the entrance to the Louvre looks like, the French have, there it is, there's the pyramid. The French have an amazing appreciation for art. Now we'll continue on to the other artists, the writing artists, struggling artists that were from the left bank. But I thought you had to see the Louvre in all its glory, which means it's not populated by 5,000 tourists. When I brought Zoe here, we actually entered, because the Mona Lisa is the first thing you see, and that's what I brought her to see, and she just stood there and was like, wow. And then I told the school it was an independent learning experience. She'd write a report on it. I thought, you know what, why would you learn from a book when you could go to Paris and see the piece of art? Yes. That was, my parenting was a little unconventional, but it was my parenting. Those were my children growing up. So also I think traveling's really fun. So I wanted to give my children something I had never been given in my childhood: culture, knowledge, and yes, fun. And Paris is fun. So let's walk on now through, and I'll get you across the Seine and pick it up there, and then we'll go in the left bank, the Rive Gauche. It's early morning. We just walked the cobblestones because there are a pile of tourists. We don't have to stay on this house. Now we have to not trip getting there, but it's a trip. It's not beautiful. It's quite a beautiful trip. I'm going to pick you up on the Seine. Well, we are, believe it or not, we are at the Seine. It's traffic starting. It'll start to get insane. That's why we set out early, to avoid the insanity. But yeah, I'm going to take you over the classic way. She grew up so early walking by Paris that runners are running Paris. And we are on the Pont du Neuf. This is the part of, this is the bridge from the Louvre that crosses the Seine. And right there you can see in the very distance the Tour Eiffel, the Eiffel Tower. It is stunneroo. And we will go into the left bank because we are leaving the right bank. And we're going to the left bank, the Rive Gauche. And it's really funny. I'll catch you on this in a minute. But the story of that, okay? Tattooed. Paris is for lovers. It's everywhere. Everybody in this place is in love. And this used to be was filled with love lost. This is like Oscar Wilde's grave. They've covered it up. But you still can't stop the love locking. So people come to this bridge, cast by a lock, and lock in their love. So that's the interesting truth. You find love locked all over here. Don't find yourself love locked and getting a divorce in California. It's a wild experience. Wilder than Pessoa. So maybe these are also people that, I'd like to think some of these are people that lost people they love. And they're locking in that love. The bell is ringing. It sounds like saying, you made it across to the other side. Woo-hoo. So, we are going to the other side where the starving artists of Paris once worked in the 1920s, and we will get into that as well. But yes, here's the wondrous morning sunrise view of Paris. Paris and the bateaus on the rise. I want to pull out Parisian bateau experience. I think this one would be best. This one's it's good. It's very British. This one speaks more to Paris. It's a picnic cafe on a bathtub. Yes, you can do picnic bathtub. I didn't go for that. I just was lucky enough to find any bathtub and go past the Eiffel Tower. Let's keep going into the writer's hall. Get into the writing area. You have to go through Quai Mallet, which is like a little square, and then on to Rue Bonaparte. Yes, Napoleon. Yes, Napoleon Bonaparte. Yeah, he was French too. Little guy, remember? Didn't work out so well for him. The funny thing is, we saw the British go back there, right? And the battle that lost France to England was the Battle of Waterloo. So, if you were to say go to the Gare du Nord in Paris and catch the Eurostar, that is where you go if you want to go under the English Channel and go to England. I had no desire to go to England. I spent many months there engaged to a guy named Mark Speed who considered himself a writer but couldn't get published, even though he went to every single, he got the Master's of Art degree. Degrees don't get you published in writing. Good writing gets you published, gets noticed. You don't need an MA of anything. But, yeah. He tried to get his first book, which is The Default Girlfriend, apparently based on myself, because yes, Mark, like my ex-husband, cheater. I don't think my daughter knows this, but yes, Mark, not only did I not want to marry him, but I would never marry him when he find out he goes back to London after our last visit to hook up with a girl, and she's talking about her pink underpants. That's more frightening than a rude Bonaparte in Paris. Yes, that's the truth about Mark Speed. There's other truths about Mark Speed, but he couldn't quite figure out the big reveal. Well, I know the big reveal. He knows the big reveal. It's in his collective unconscious. He doesn't want to admit that he wrote the Default Girlfriend and it didn't get published because you weren't writing it from your life experience. You've never really had a girlfriend when you bust it up to the other, and you're not really attracted to girls. But yeah, I did like, he wrote a nice short story about me. But that character was like a poor pauper who worked in I think it was a pret-a-manger, which is, I know, it's a French name in London. But yes, he wrote some story. I think it was called Pret-a-manger. It was decent. It was a short story. It was when he was a little bit nicer about me. I mean, he did do some nice things. He took me to Katie Tunstall concert in San Francisco at the Fillmore, and he knew the roadie for Katie Tunstall, so we got backstage passes and the whole 9 yards, and that was pretty cool. Yeah, our relationship ended though over a few things, particularly his entitlement. He was fond of saying about my ex-husband, cash is king, Shani. Meaning, Michael Falk was the king of cash. That has not changed. He still is that chap. He's not a cash king, he's a cash cow. About to be milked. Aww. But yeah, so, the writer, I think it will be in the book I'm writing any which way. The second half of the book is, it does delve into what my daughter wrote about in her book, where she's badly misinformed that her parents were middle-class drug addicts getting a divorce. Zoe, your father's favorite bar where he had his drinks that ended his drinking career. The wagon wheel, true story. Who hangs out at the wagon wheel? Yeah, Hells Angels. That's where they raided the Hells Angels, the same bar that Michael frequented. Because I guess if you were coming over from, say, and that's the other thing about Mark Speed, I don't know his taste in jewelry. He couldn't decide what engagement ring to buy me. I was to choose some emerald or something. That didn't happen. No, thank you. The baubles didn't interest me. But here, so we're coming on the writer cafes. That writing interests me. So these tidbits will be in the book. But yes, it was, it was this I felt like it was hijacked. I went to go meet his parents and told me, they were staying at Scotland, a little place. We end up at like a palace. In the same block that J.K. Rowling lives in. And we've come from the land of Cash is King, everything in my case, and we're there. And Mark Speed, tells me that, this is in Jackson. It's a big-ass mansion. I'm like, you didn't give me a heads up that your parents live in this big-ass mansion. I mean, I should have had a clue when we were taking the train up from London to Scotland. We're looking up at islands. And he goes, my mother owned a place there. I'm like, she had a house on the island? He's like, No, she bought an island in Scotland. If you have enough money to buy an island in Scotland, that's a problem. And then to find out also, we go for the meet and greet. Parents are very down to earth. Mother actually baked me a cake, one of Shannon, but it was a Julia Roberts moment when the dinner comes out and courses and all the implements to eat, and you're like, oh God, I can't eat. It was like the art had looked like a museum. I'm like, you can give me a heads up, you're real rich. And titled, that was the worst part of the entitlement, because I'll tell you what, you can buy a lot of things with money. The British class system is all based on title. So he tells me his dad's an OB. An OB? What the hell's an OB? And frankly, I'm American. I was a Californian anyway, try that. What does the word OB mean to me? Because OBE, and it's cold, colder, getting cold, colder. That means absolutely nothing to me. Because what is the British Empire? Then we had to go with his mother and father to Merkiston, the private boarding school, which he called boarding school, which he was sent to in his childhood. That very much traumatized him. He doesn't want to admit to that, or particularly we know he stopped drinking. He never worked a 12-step program. He just stopped drinking because he got cirrhosis of the liver and was told he was going to die. So he's dry. That's great. Michael Falk, let's talk about Michael and drugs and cleanliness. Let's get back into my husband, the guy I actually did marry and father 2 children with, Michael Falk. Yeah, seeing as we're in front of the Hemingway restaurant, and then we're going to go to the floor, which is open. Hopefully we're not going to be floored with too many tourists. Oh yeah, but you have to queue up to stay at these regular things. So, but yeah. So, what was I on to about speed? I don't know. Oh, Michael, no. So, yeah, when you find out after your divorce, you have a friend who relapses on cocaine, you ask her where she gets it. She goes, Solomon. I go, Solomon, like our water guy that changes our reverse osmosis system? She goes, he's a drug dealer. Didn't you know Michael's the biggest cocaine dealer in Sonoma County? No one told me that. Things they don't tell you. So these things will go in my book. Things you find out during a divorce, it goes into federal court. Not fun, but definitely not middle class. Middle class. At 23, you can't roll into California and buy 83 acres in Hillsburg. That ain't middle class. How to trust. You're funded by. You got enough money to go be bored and be a cocaine trafficker. Ugh. So no, there was no middle class addicts getting divorces. There was me in chronic pain from 2001 to 2005. June 5th, 2005, I celebrated 19 years clean. Yes, you heard that. Yes, I got into chronic pain. White privilege in California, get an addictionologist. But you would think when you're getting Oxycontin pills, the copays on the morphine, the Oxycontin, for my chronic pain, managed by the addictionologist, the copay, $250,000. A normal middle-class marriage can't afford that. That marriage would have gone bust right then. Not Michael. He actually admired that. If there was something Michael admired me for, apparently it was my ability to ingest large amounts of Oxycontin. I don't know why. Because for 4 years he was knowing that he was going to be left. The chronic pain came because I had a gastric bypass surgery. I lost a jockey, as his friend Chick said. So in 6 months I went from a size 24 to a size 4. I dropped 20 sizes. I didn't have any extra body weight, and I went back to my fighting weight. This has always been my weight. This is like, I felt like I was released from a prison of my body. But I had it's a very French thing. I had a Roux-en-Y. That was the name of the operation that reorganized my stomach. Yeah, so you bypass the large intestine. You don't absorb as much calories. You have a pouch stapled up. I had side effects like malabsorption and many other things. And at a very thin weight then, taking on all those opioids wasn't good. So I had a spiritual awakening in 11 in 2005 on June 5th, and I went to a bougie rehab in Marin County. I got off those drugs. I clearly was out of that marriage. And yeah, I got to stay in the rehab. None of my family came. No one came. And anyone that knows anything about addiction, well, don't come to Paris. There's addictions here too, like shopping, but I wasn't addicted to shopping. It's a family disease. If you have a family member that's getting clean sober, you support them. You go while they're in the rehab. You stay with them for the entire 90 days after the surgery. You stay with the person and you assist them, and the family is easy because there's other things that are creating codependency, whatever. Not my family. The only person that showed up and took me actually to Cafe Maxwell on the family visit day was Michael Falk. And what Michael Falk told me? My brother has pancreatic cancer. Okay, I felt bad. And then you think, okay, that you talk about what that would mean. Then he looks at me and says, you're going to get healthy and you're going to leave. And I'm like, no, I love you. Michael is a predictor, a good predictor, just like my father. So he has lined things up from 2001 to when we amended our marriage trust, June 2nd, 2004, and he was busy changing things up so that if it didn't work out, Michael could screw me. Well, I'm going to go back to New York and we're going to see who's going to screw who, hey? But for now, let's get back into the writing because there's lots to be written. My story is yet unwritten. But it is fun. Okay, so Denaga was the notorious Hemingway bar. Now, Hemingway famously said, how you know it's a Hemingway restaurant? Where the hell is it? Oh yeah. There's a petite déjeuner for Hemingway. Probably filled with bacon and bad things. He wasn't in good health. Hemingway shot himself. He committed suicide in the end. This, on the other hand, Cafe Four. Hemingway wrote "Sun Also Rises" here, and then and Fitz is the one who got Hemingway his opportunity. Hemingway, who came from money. So there was a quote that Hemingway said while they were writing the books. Actually, Fitz finished The Great Gatsby before Hemingway, or maybe during the time Hemingway was writing The Sun Also Rises. But he had something that Hemingway didn't that was very valuable. An editor connection, a literary connection, and he got Hemingway a read. And so who gave Hemingway his career? No, it wasn't Louis Vuitton. It was Scott Fitzgerald. And it's a quote that Hemingway said, because this was a poor writer's paradise, and this is the cafe where Fitzgerald went. I like it. It seems a little more humble. But yes, it was, is, still was, is. It's now obviously been very discovered. We'll get into the works of F. Scott and the whole vine writer thing. I'll see if I can get myself a table. Yesterday they were queuing up for tables, and I'm like, I'm not doing that. I'm of the mind that I'm, honoring the impoverished roots of the writers. The area isn't impoverished anymore. This is, there are not a lot of struggling writers writing here. Let me tell you, if you're struggling and you're writing in Paris, you aren't writing as a Negro or Cafe before. You're a tourist sitting around. I'm going to be a tourist sitting around. I'm going to catch you up on F. Scott Fitzgerald, the whole thing about the rich, and their books, and what inspired them, the lost generation, all of it, when I see if I can get a seat. Who gets the worm at a table? Yes. And probably the biggest thing I'm going to stream for is I love lemonade Lorena. Soft drink. But here, I got a whole bottle for $4 and Marseille. It's like $8, but I love it. And then typical breakfast of toast and butter. I'm going to do the typical with the untypical. Me, Paris. Out comes my parfait for breakfast. I can, scream that I'm an American because I've got this bag that screams I'm an American. Along with the Sabina, because it's a French lemonade. You don't see it often these days. Give me glass bottles, and it's delish. So I will get into my toast, butter, cappuccino, marina, writer's heaven. And then I'll tell you all about the stories of Fitz, Hemingway. Stand back from here. Right now I'm going to ingest Paris. Yes, that's what you do. You ingest it. You pass your leg. And you contemplate it. And then we'll contemplate writers, eh? Up on how I do my breakfast. It's France. I slather the hell out of their butter. Is so good. So I slather it in butter. And then I throw on the jambon. And then it's going to be the breakfast of champions, eh? We have the toast slathered, just the way I like it, and pouring my what is a breakfast of champions in Paris? This. That is a breakfast of champions. It'll be amazing if I don't have the jam on my skirt, so my fashionista look isn't more, ruined by the stains of the jam water. We shall see. And the most expensive thing I bought was the lemonade, which now I don't crave so much, but I'll drink it. I paid for it. And the cappuccino, plain sugar. The bread is nice and soft. I like that. It's thick. It's like fresh made bread with jam. It's perfect. This is perfect for you. Cafe floor. Finish up our breakfast of champions at Cafe de Fleur. Now I'm going to tell you, these books, both The Sun Also Rises and The Great Gatsby. were written in the 1920s because of, yes, this thing called the stock market crash. And that affected their work. So, I'll continue this across the street when we talk about the wealth thing. It's still going on, so we'll talk more about it. But this was, we just left Floor, which was the notorious, battling writers, Fitz and Hemingway. But the truth is, their brasserie lit across the street, and then there's another one next to it. It's actually where he wrote, Fitzgerald wrote most of the manuscript that he sold his book before Hemingway, and it was The Great Gatsby. And I'll tell you about that in a second as we cross the street and we talk about Reeve Ghosh, all right? Try to. So before this area becomes way too crowded, Le Margot and Café de Fleury, along with Brasserie Lip, which we're coming upon, were favorites for the writers Hemingway and Fitzgerald. And I think I'm wrong about, they didn't come to write here after the stock market crash. They basically, their books foretold that were not there. But The Sun Also Rises did not foretell of that. And it's just more wordy, kind of, I don't know. To me, it was not a seminal American work. And I think it ended up selling more copies initially, but over time, posthumously, many people argue that The Great Gatsby is the greatest American novel. And what's great about it is, I believe it's only 128 or 178. It's under 200 pages. Fitzgerald's prose is clean and simple and clear, unlike Hemingway, and it doesn't ramble on. It doesn't have run-on sentences like Hemingway. So I like Fitzgerald. But the truth is, he wrote most of that manuscript here. Yes, it is on Saint-Germain-des-Prés, just like me. Except when he wrote it, this area was not populated by wealthy, I'll show you. But these were, why did American writers in the 20s drop out and come to Paris? Because it was affordable to live here and write here. And so Fitzgerald put his wife, they got on a ship actually. I think he's his daughter by then. They had a daughter. And they came over here. No, before they had the daughter. I don't know, sometime around that. No, they couldn't have had a daughter. Because Elda Fitzgerald was going a little nutty in Paris. She's a wild thing. I would love to find the fountain, but she would do things like, just wildly dance in fountains. So she's a wild chick, and explains why she left Montgomery, Alabama, and had a blast in Paris. She could be wild in Paris. She couldn't. You were dancing in fountains in Montgomery, Alabama. She would have ended up in a nut house a lot sooner than she did. She did end up there. She had a number of breakdowns, but she was a pretty wild thing. But during the time that they were living here, those writers, they were coming here for the affordability factor. Now, what was once the impoverished spot of Paris is, the term Reeve Gauche, left bank, trashy, sort of, that's so Reeve Gauche. It's not Gucci. Good. So what populates? I mean, it is so strange that the boulevard Saint-Germain-des-Prés is populated with very, very expensive shopping experiences. Even when I came here with my daughter 20 years ago and stayed at L'Hotel in Saint-Germain-des-Prés also, it had nice, shops, laundry and bakeries. It did not have this, can you imagine what a watch costs in there? No, it's not as much as a yacht in Saint-Tropez, but it ain't cheap either. Oh, slower but easier. So that's the thing. This was an area that drew writers, creatives, artists, Picasso, Gertrude Stein, Alex B. Tolkien, some of the great thinkers, Sartre, the philosophers, they were drawn to the area, and they all used to gather in a salon to discuss their various artistic endeavors. No, they weren't wearing Ralph Lauren. And they would, it was a time for creativity. But the two books, both The Sun Also Rises and The Great Gatsby, their theme is about spiritual disillusion and moral bankruptcy. When you can afford this and put it in your closet, and there are women that do this, they come to places like this, they buy clothes like that. And I think that's actually kind of a cool outfit. I like it. But they come here, they buy outfits like that, because they think they're going to lose some weight or whatever. They never wear them. And they can actually, this would be something someone would say, oh, well, it's a bodysuit. So they're like, I'm going to go back and get that liposuction. And then I'll fit into it. So they spend their money on wasteful things. So that's sort of not the waste, but the wealth issue in America has been mulled over. Those books were written in the 1920s. We're in the 2020s. This theme repeats, and it repeats. So the famous quote from that, it was an exchange. It's not a quote. It was an exchange between Hemingway and Fitzgerald, who were talking about money and people who had it and people who didn't. And then speaking of not having things, let's go back a different way than we came so that we can show you a bit more of the left bank before we end this video and go back over the right bank, which is all in Saint-Germain-des-Prés. Saint-Germain-des-Prés is a district in Paris. It encompasses both sides of the river there. It's a legal thing. It's like bad balance. So, So the theme of the premise of the Gatsby thing is he was madly, madly in love with Daisy, who was of a certain class. And she was in love with Gatsby, but couldn't marry him. Daisy could not marry him because he apparently just couldn't afford her. So rather than thinking, Jay Gatsby never had it in his mind to say, you know what, she doesn't take me poor, then she doesn't really love me. So the theme of that book is Gatsby does come back as a very rich man into they called it East Egg and West Egg, which that's a New York term for Long Island. East Egg, West Egg, one's the more expensive, one's the less expensive, sort of like left bank, right bank. So he reinvents himself, goes underground, and mysteriously, he's this mysterious man with money that just shows up on East Egg. And how does he make his money? Well, he was like Michael Falk, but he didn't have a trust, so he didn't already have money. He went into bootlegging. So, yeah. But yeah, usually people that can traffic in cocaine, they start out with some money to be able to afford the large quantities. So, yeah, I don't know how Gatsby works his way up the thing. The book doesn't get into that too much. The Great Gatsby. It just is. He's this mysterious character with all this money. Starts throwing glammy parties, and Daisy shows up, and they start up their love affair. And in the end, Gatsby is a noble character. Of course, he dies, and here's a very, very good quote from a very great writer, Fitzgerald. He knew some pain and suffering in his own life, right? He had to put his wife in a mental institution because she was insane. That creates actual pain. He was an alcoholic. He struggled and struggled. He went to Hollywood and he wrote screenplays, and he wasn't happy writing screenplays. Dang, I'm gonna forget the quote. So let me stop here because I lose the quote. It's a very good quote. I know what it is. Okay, so yes, so Fitzgerald says, Fitzgerald was not here. When was this busy? No. He was not. He was not this busy. I thought I was taking it quietly back to the thing without driving myself insane. But no. So, there's a saying, without going insane, we hope there's no more Germandaries, whatever. But what the quote is about Fitzgerald, who knew of pain from his own life, the alcoholism, the this, that. He never fell out of love with Zelda. He may have cheated on her, but he loved her. And she was in a mental institution. They had a child, Scotty, a little girl named after Scotty. So, yes, he had a little girl. And he had to put his wife in a mental institution. That was painful. He went to Hollywood. He was lonely. He just get in some torrid love affairs. He drank himself nearly to death. And they just told him, oopsie. They told him, don't fall down. He was told, like, hey, your liver got cirrhosis, you're going to die. So I guess he did a Mark's feed. He stopped drinking for his better health to stay alive. By the time Fitzgerald stopped drinking, it was a little late. So he died at the age of 40. And a lot of people say he died like an alcoholic. No. He he was sober. He had just torn up his body so badly, they told him. So he had to live through the death of his wife. His wife, Elda, who was put in a North Carolina mental institution, where, by the way, Fitzgerald didn't just shove her away. He went and visited her. You know, he didn't need to be told by 12-step experts that, family stays involved. He just did it out of this thing called love that he had for her. So he had to go and visit her. And she tried, the mental institution caught on fire, and Zelda died in that fire. And so Fitzgerald had to stay alive through all that and survive all that, so that all these pains he had, they informed his work. So what Fitzgerald said about heroes, I love this. Heroes. This is a writer talking about heroes. He said, "Show me a hero and I'll write you a tragedy." What can you say? Fitzgerald, you have my heart. But the argument between Hemingway and Fitzgerald was, Fitzgerald wasn't from, wealthy family. I want to be wealthy family. Put on little chaps, kids and kiddos, and act like a cowboy. That's my father. Like, a friend of mine is a reviewer for the New York Times that asked me if I'd stream, I want to call it Wyoming Yellowstone, I hadn't. He said, "Your family sounds like that." I actually did have to stream it. And Glenn, you're right. They are. My father is like Kevin Costner, except that he's afraid of horses. He can't ride a horse to save his life. He doesn't wear a Stetson. He doesn't helicopter around. Other than that, he acts pompous and important. I'd like to shut down the set of the faux Willitts bullshit off the Falk money. We'll see about that. But the debate between a couple of writers, Hemingway and Fitz, was at the cafe one night. The two were talking. Well, actually, I believe a Brasserie Lip was it's a bar, so they were drinking. Yes, they probably drank at night at Brasserie Lip, whatever, not in the morning, probably very midday. But very famous quote, as I take you back over a different bridge. Maybe we're going over the same one. The grandness of Paris. But they were here, surrounded, of course, by all of this. You can't help but notice, love in Paris. It's not like it's a trashy city or anything. That's a very famous book, or the debate between the two writers, and it's often quoted. And they were sitting around one night, probably they weren't writing, it was at a bar. So, we are going over a different bridge. Yeah, we're not going over the Lovelock. I brought you over the Lovelock. The Lovelock Bridge is over there. And this is scary. This is a really or you can't put lock. You used to be able to put locks there. You could never put a lock here. It's blocked. It's fortified, like old school. So, on the bridge, I will give you the quote. But right now, I'm going to take in the view for a minute. Gratitude. Okay, so we are finishing this out. We kind of said a very big bridge on the palace of the Louvre. This is all the Louvre, by the way. This is how huge the Louvre is. But we are finishing this out with the debate and the quotes between Fitzgerald and Hemingway, and I like it. So one night, Fitzgerald said to Hemingway, "The rich are different from you and me." That was a deep thing. Fitzgerald came from a place of not having money, writing, earning money, knowing what it felt like to make money off of what he was good at. So he had some skills of coming from nothing to making something. Hemingway came from trust money, so it was a little bit different for him. So Hemingway's response to Fitzgerald was flippant. It was, yeah, they just have more money than you and me. So the full conversation quote is, Fitzgerald goes to Hemingway, "The rich are different from you and me." Hemingway says, yes, they just have more money. This shows me that the depth of Fitz was that he came back at it with an in-depth conversation about the differences. He finally knew because not to find a point on it, he was going to, once he made it with his writing, he got to see both worlds, which is something that Hemingway didn't do. Hemingway was born with trust money, family money. So he didn't have the experience of coming from a family with zero money, with no money. I would liken myself or Fitzgerald because, truthfully, my family has no money but what they've stolen from Falks. The only thing my father ever had before I was married were mechanics liens. So yes, I understand quite well Fitzgerald's point of view. I wasn't born a Falk. I didn't have Daddy to bail me out when I was cocaine trafficking. That would be Michael Falk, If you can actually bail and get out of jail, you try. Michael, by the way, was arrested in the 70s while his father was still alive for attempting to smuggle in 2 kilos of cocaine in a surfboard. As my California attorney said, what an idiot. He must have wanted to get caught. He was doing it from Bolivia. It's a landlocked country. Hello. Yes, so Michael Falk actually had the money to fail and Daddy to catch it. Something also which Fitzgerald did. Not Fitzgerald, Hemingway. So Hemingway was more of a Michael Falkian character. I mean, he could write, anyone can write a great book if you write what you know. But look at there. Oh, this is why you don't do the Louvre. Look at the lines already. You're going to come into the museums of Paris, do it when it is like November, December, when it's not like this. You want to see these great works of art and you want to have it be a somewhat sublime experience. You don't want to pile of crowds. So I imagine But yeah, when I brought my daughter, it wasn't an high season like this. He had a much quieter Paris experience. But back to the writer thing. Left bank, right bank, because we are back on the right bank, which, in case you haven't noticed, we are right at the Louvre. So it's kind of a lot more expensive on the right bank. Therefore, left bank was re-gauche where the Australian artists and writers could work to live. But yes. So Fitzgerald wrote about what he knew. He knew what it was like to be an outsider, the person who didn't come from money. And then he made himself, he had already written books before the Great Gatsby. I think I want to say like The Beautiful Madame. He was writing an awful lot of short stories. So, and getting them published, making a living as a writer, long before Hemingway. So, Hemingway had a jealousy for Fitzgerald. Fitzgerald was getting by on his skill. And that's an amazing thing, particularly if you're a writer. A skilled writer, being paid, that's a very hard thing to accomplish. Fitzgerald did that. So his perspective of wealth, why he was making these quotes about it, is because he come from nothing and come from Montgomery, Alabama. His character in The Great Gatsby, it was sort of patterned off of him, and a lot of novels are patterned off of a writer's lived experience, and they just fictionalize it. As was with Gatsby, other than Hemingway wasn't a bootlegger. But, he couldn't immediately marry Zelda. He went into the service, and his father-in-law didn't like him, and he eventually, made some money writing, and the father didn't like that because how was that really going to support Zelda on a regular basis? But any which way, they got married, and Hemingway made his money and just destroyed him on his writing. So he knew about that. He knew what it was like that the rich were different because he came from the poor. They mingled up with money. And I believe that would make Fitzgerald a noticer. I'm a noticer of things too. I notice things about money. I came from no money. I married it. Wahoo! Big deal. I did absolutely nothing. That's not an accomplishment. Out in my case, it's a pain in the ass. But back to Fitzgerald. He noticed a difference. How he was treated when he was then the glorified writer, a little more important, a little better. But he was mixing with people who did come from money, including his wife, Zelda. So her father was a judge in Alabama. In other words, a very, accomplished dude. Oh, and here we are back at the Rue de Rivoli. But yes, There we are doing our fashion walk. I was going to sell out on my looks when I was like 16. I had an offer from John Casablancas because my body has something that only 3% of women have. It's a thigh. It's just the way I'm built. My grandmother called it an architecture for clothes. I'm not curvy. I don't have much hair. I have a thigh gap though, so John Casablancas these were the pre-Kate Moss days, but he could foresee what was coming, so I almost had the opportunity to sell out on my looks, but my father said, Willitts says, we don't sell out on our looks, no, you couldn't make money if you signed out my release for me to be a model. in New York and Paris to be an emancipated youth, which would have meant that, I would have made my own money off the way I looked, and you wouldn't have been able to profiteer off it. That's my father. He would profiteer off anything. So, yeah. But back to the come from no wealth thing. So yes, my grandmother is a peasant, was a peasant from a dirt floor in Pisa, Italy. My grandpa works lane truck driver. My grandpa Willitts was full of brush cells, and these are not big glammy things. My ex-husband Michael Falk, there was a trust. He was born into trust money. He was born with you'll never lose. You can't lose. You're a fault. That doesn't give you the real experience of life, which is you should be able to lose. If you are born into such a state that you think you can never lose, that's a dangerous thing. So I do have a book in me coming up. It's not a Great Gatsby or Sun Also Rises, but it is my take on money. I've seen the difference between people who take money, people who make money, people who make money off of names, people who marry for names. Weird. I didn't marry Michael Falk for the money. I married him because I didn't have to do laundry or cook or clean. He didn't care about that. That was nice. Also, he was unlike my father. He never, ever showed off money. He shut up about it. My grandmother, such a big mouth, she actually wrote the number. She was so impressed. Some I don't know, $1 million, $2 million. Billy sells the business, but come on, lady. You didn't make any money, so you were getting your oil rubbed on you. Michael Falk and my grandma Elda were like, I guess Michael probably paid for Elda's stay at Deepak Chopra's like Boston and their little cancer stories. But yeah, oh, come on. Elda didn't have no money. She came nothing. She was very impressed by Michael Falk. So enough to, they were just going to very much bond. Oh, like that's going to be the mother you never had. She's not a mother you would never, she's the mother you never want to have. Ugh, yeah. Any mother, my grandma, Elda, is a mother, that had her brother put into Napa State because, it would be too expensive to take care of him. The man had been, I believe he had explosive anger after the death of Guido, his brother, in World War II. Apparently punched Sabina, who's the original narcissist in my family. But yeah, so what does my grandma do? Takes Uncle Rico and puts him into a nut house. All you needed to do back in the 40s was sign something, and away they went. Poof, you disappear them. So my grandma Elda accomplished absolutely nothing. And then she couldn't even write her own book. She had to pay somebody $40,000 to, where she's spoken to a tape recorder. Her big moment is when she has my Uncle Rico arrested and put in jail. That should be your great moment of shame and regret. Not like you did something good, you did something awful. So talk about people with no money to do awful things. That's Grandma Elda. Particularly also, during the housing crisis, she takes the guy that's the first guy that ever took me to a 12-step meeting, Rich Shinazi. She forecloses on his house because right now she's rubbing herself with the oil of Michael Falk money. She thinks she's all entitled to lend out money and this and that. And Rich just lives too much of a nice lifestyle. So she actually foreclosed on somebody who helped me. She foreclosed on his house. And you know what ended up with Rich Nazi? Gave it the first hanging death around the Willitts. Oh no, Elda had a part in the hanging death of Rich Nazi. Because Rich Nazi was so depressed from the loss of his house, his job, his stature. Things that Elda Willitts and Bill Willitts stole from him. He hung himself on Christmas Day alone in his apartment, whatever he was renting, with his dog crying. Yeah, that's the truth about things that money does. Makes people that aren't entitled to fall money, like Willitts, think they are entitled to tell people how they should live on money. When they have no money, that is the Falk money, the suffering of Gertrude and Samuel Falk. So, cautionary tales about money. Mine is going back more generations. Mine goes deep into the roots of these problems with money. Because I know the histories. Of course, I know my family history. I also know some mysteries of the Falks that haven't revealed. So what's going to go in the book, I don't know. I happen to love and respect Gertrude Falk. I didn't know Samuel Falk. I know that she loved and respected him, so I have respect there. So I will respectfully be writing around that subject. But back to the other published writers on the subject, the great subject of money, wealth, the divisions. As far as the greatest book, particularly I think that I've ever read, the greatest American book is Clean Prose of Great Gatsby. It's, God, what's the other line? Something about ships sailing and boat. He just wrote these great paragraphs, very short, clean paragraphs, simple, straightforward language, not flowery, unlike Elda Willitts. Probably Elda Willitts, ghostwriter, to go to the S. Scott Fitzgerald School of Writing. It's a horribly written book. Regardless of the content, the writing was just awful. It didn't sound at all like Elda Willitts, because it sounded like she had a vocabulary. My grandma didn't have that kind of flowery language, so the book's written is bizarre. Sugar at the bottom of the cup. It's so stupid. That sugar at the bottom of the cup. More like, if I was going to write the book, how about, you sugar-coated it, bitch. That's my grandma's book. The real Elda Willitts book. You like to sugarcoat shit, don't you, bitch? Like sugarcoat that Rich Nazi hung himself because you were selfish and you acted entitled. The little peasant girl, the little doll, Eldina. Well, they actually have my grandmother's picture. Like there's a whole ring at the hotel in Oregon. You can just take that out with a wrecking ball. She's all in red, it's like Mao's China. You go over there and I've been to that hotel exactly one time, Five Pine Lodge, that was built on the Falk money. Who wants to go there? Ugh. But you go there and there's it's first of all, it's called a campus. What is it, like a college or a hotel? It's ridiculous. So Google has a campus. Hotels don't have campuses. If you want to go into the Elda dining room, whatever, the Elda hall, she's all in red, over the all-seeing eye. It's awful. It's just money goes on a nightmare trip. Yes, so I have the best book to write about money because I've seen the difference. I've seen the difference between Falk money, which is real money, deep old New York money. We're talking my father-in-law born in the 19th century. So I don't need to stream succession. I know the story of Rupert Murdoch, and he at least was born in the 20th century. But folks, you got things that go back 130 years. So there's old beefs in New York. But yeah, my grandma coming in on the scene and thinking she was something. I mean, the audacity to tell my father as she was dying, oh, my death is going to change Shannon. Like, she was so important, like her death would mean so much. It changed me. Apparently my father amended the trust agreement to try to get more money. So yeah, it altered me all right. Your death did. I didn't go to your funeral. I was barred from that. Thank God. Who needed to see? I saw the wake. My brother Pete was like putting thumbprints in her forehead, and I was laughing because it was hysterical. I guess that's why you would get barred from Elda's funerary thing. But who needed to see it? It was like the wake to this, that. All I needed to see was, at least my grandma was born in the Depression, realized it was stupid to waste money. Instructed my father not to waste money on a coffin. What does he do? He buys the woman a platinum coffin. What, for show? For what? For a wake and a funeral, whatever. 3 times you're going to show it out? What a waste of money. I mean, yeah. So, no, my story is a play off of the 0.01%, that's Falk, and then the people that for 20 years, since I amended a trust agreement, just thought they could work with Michael Falk and erase me. So guess what? You don't get to erase me. And writers write, and those things can never be erased once they're put into print. And I now own the first North American rights on my first book. So I own all my own rights to my writing, which makes it kind of nice. So you can do a 2-book deal. You can have a follow-up memoir. You already have the one that won the George Washington Emerging Voice in American Literature Prize. Yes, it did. Don't tell anyone. Yes, I'm the writer that believed in publishing the real way, that the publisher has to notice that it's good enough to be published. So I got 97 rejections. 98 was that. It was published, and it did. A piece of it was chosen and awarded as an emerging voice in American literature. So I can do something that Elda cannot. I can write for myself. I don't need to record it and pay somebody $40,000 to flower it up for me. Hey, I can do it all by myself. How about that, eh? Writers write. That's what we do. That's what I'm here to do. Send it and write it. And I've been documenting this crazy journey. While I've been, going through it, I always have my gratitude. So, yes, and Fitzgerald and Hemingway, when they were blocked or whatever, they didn't have YouTube. I have YouTube. I haven't been able to write for years, so I produce an awful lot of content on YouTube, and some of it's out of order because that's how complex trauma works. It's like a constellation in the sky, and you put pieces together here, there, and it takes a while for it all to come together. But when you're writing a book, you can't do that. You can't just barf it out on a page and have it make no sense. It has to have some kind of beginning, middle, end. So, it's taken me a good year of YouTubing, some odd blogs, and my OCD on certain pieces of the legalities of my case, but in any case, let me clear this up for my daughter. No, your mother and father did not get a much needed divorce, and then you went to Oregon. That didn't happen, okay? Sometimes those things take years when you have creepy grandparents that were benefiting financially. Yes, that's what happens. And then it gives you complex trauma because for the last, it's 2013 in Merle Myers. It's been a game of bribery payoffs, this and that. That will come out in accounting, that might be the third book, but I have to write some interesting things about this journey of recovering all the financial stuff, because it takes you a while and quite a lot of money. Maybe being willing to lose everything, gamble a house, literally sell your house for the shots at justice and truth. That's me. That's what I did. I sold both of my houses. I didn't give a flying bleep about anything but an attachment to the truth and justice. I believe if you do that, the truth does come out eventually. It takes a while. But we are going to go back to New York and test that fact, because in fact, the snobs, we've got the pig, which is Bill Willitts, who yesterday I think I passed a pig on my walk. My father's famous quote, pigs get slaughtered. Time for you, buddy, to get that. And then we'll work on to the bacon. Michael Falk and what's shaken in New York, because then we're dealing with the slob I married and the snobs in New York City. That ought to be so much fun to write about. Yeah. So my books are a little different than Fitz and Hemingway. But yes, I married a Garcia for the second time. So I got a life experience of what it's like to marry someone from the lowest class the second time, a very short time. And then what it was like to be married to someone at the highest class for a very long time and have 2 children. Those are vastly different experiences, of which I will write all about. So that is concluding this episode of the RSUC, The Wealth Divide, Bank Insurance. There's a problem, and there's a problem in the world right now. When there's big-ass mega yachts and pay, people are paying billions for one yacht, and that you fix a fixable problem with money? The fixable problem on the bench there? That's the resolve of a problem with money. You don't need a foundation. You don't need to look important. You can do it quietly. You can actually go and assist people. You can directly give and help people. Oh my God, what a concept. I mean, what a wild, crazy concept. Just go out and help people? That's the thing. That's the problem. People are so dang busy creating things to keep. Look at the Gates Foundation and all that. He's holding court with this whole thing like he's a king. That is not how that stuff should work. You don't work it like that with money. Money should be used, above all else, freedom. Money should be freedom. And if you can take your money and you can use it to liberate somebody else from suffering and pain, that's a good use of money, in my book. In my book. Not mega yachting on a depreciating asset. No, thank you. And certainly, we've got to have it more than the trickle down. It's just how much clearer does it get? How much? It's just such a. It's a visual to me. God. I mean, there's the bank. and there's someone on the bench laying. They're not going to be able to even get up to catch the bus if the bus does come. It's a Sunday in Paris. And where would they go? You know? So, you just, and they're not criminals, so you can't put them in jail. I mean, sadly, what jail provides for certain people is structure. You're just a broke down person with an alcoholic problem, and you're not a criminal. They do nothing to help you. They just leave you in this vulnerable position. And so I have a thing about that. I think that if you have money and you can help free somebody or help people, that's what it ought to be used for, whenever you can. I mean, my grandma, geez, that woman, if she'd perhaps helped Rich Nazi instead of judged him how he should live his life and then punished him. Where does my father get that from? From Mommy, the original narcissist. And now Rich lives here. Rich, I'm going to take Rich's house now. Oh, you're surprised Rich hung himself? Shockaroo. It's a Willitts design. People always get hung up on a Willitts design. Davis was second person to get hung up on a Willitts design. Yes. The curses come like 2s, 3s. There better not be any more of that. But yeah, you hang around the Willittses, you might end up hung up. There's a lesson for you. Yeah, the Willittses with no money, nothing until Shannon Falk gets married and Billy's wearing shades and glasses. Whole wedding thinking it's his money. It ain't, buddy. You ain't a Falk, you didn't marry a Falk. You certainly didn't have any Falk children. Get out of our game. You aren't even a player. You're a loser. You're nothing but a grifter and a conspirator and a sicko. And your mother and your sugar-coated books. No, from the writing perspective, that book was awful, terribly written. But a big reveal for someone in the family who knows quite about what it was about and all the promotion Billy did in the children's book and the other side and this and that. Let's make Elda look very important, get her in an NPR documentary. She had no Italian experience. She was like a little 4-year-old, went through all this on it. Whoop whoop, big deal. That is not the Italian American experience. Thank you very much. I would say Guido went out for World War II, is dead. Uncle Rico, who Elda put him in a nut house for 40 years and left him homeless and on the street till he had stage 4 cancer. And then, well, maybe someone should help him. You think? Jeez. Yeah. Nutty, crazy stuff. Yeah. The nutty stuff of the poor is different than the nutty stuff of the rich. There is that nutty stuff of the rich. We'll get into that. It's a Falk thing, but yeah, it does wind around. It's generational. So, yes, writers write from life experience, and some of us are fictionalized writing, some of us are memoirs. So I'm a memoir. So mine is about to be written. For now, I thought I'd share some other writing stories. Take you around the left bank, the right bank, give you the difference, give you a long education on writing, and then a little bit of my collective unconscious and what comes out on my YouTube, because my writing for a book has to be way more collected than these videos that touch. I get triggered with this and triggered with that, and I put this together and I put that together. The book's covered together, so that's good. But that's a good thing to be leaving Paris with for New York. It's the book that's put together. Because I am Fitzgerald, I can actually sell my writing off of my skill. That's a hard thing to do, but I believe I've got that. So, with that, I sign out, and that's my education to you guys on left bank, right bank, brief goosh. money, real money, faux money, the whole thing, the difference, rich, different, you and me. You and me are on the YouTube journey, and you've watched me go through complex trauma, having gratitude, trying to suck out the marrow. Not trying, I do. I suck out marrow, I find bright spots throughout this whole journey, but you've been on it with me, so thank you. And wherever you are, whatever you're dealing with, whatever stage in the journey you're at, have your gratitude travel with attitude.